Ah! That was a jump scare. I got you. Hey, how's it going, YouTube? My name is Nacho. This video will be focusing on top 10 Resident Evil 7 stuff that I want to see. I want to see this stuff. Resident Evil 7. Let's fucking erase that. Top 10 things I want to see in Resident Evil 7. So far, I don't want to use the word disappointment, but I want to use the word misunderstandings when it comes to Resident Evil 7. People thought it was a ripoff of PT, or people thought it was a ripoff of Outlast. There's so much negative criticism when it comes to Resident Evil 7. Now, I did point out a few positives in one of my past videos. You can go ahead and check that out after this video, of course. Honestly, there are just a few. I mean, it's still so early, so we can't go ahead and say it's gonna be super good or it's gonna be shit like Raccoon City Operation, whatever the fuck that game was called. Shit. As a longtime Resident Evil fan, there are so many things off the top of my head that I can say that I want to see in Resident Evil 7. So I'm gonna tone it down and be realistic, because if it were up to me, I would have like Ada Wong like come out and like fuck me. But that's not gonna happen. So number 10, number 10, deeper storyline. So the story we know so far of Resident Evil 7 is that we go into a mansion that's full of cannibals and you're there to rescue your wife. Now, if that's the only story that happens in this game, I am going to be so fucking pissed. There has to be a deeper storyline here. You can't just, like, that's Outlast. That's literally Outlast. You go into somewhere to fucking see something or rescue something. That's gonna be Outlast 2. But that's it? No, there has to be a Resident Evil, something to do with Resident Evil here. So a deeper storyline, like a mention towards Umbrella Corp or what happened after whatever the fuck happened in Resident Evil 6. I don't even remember. But there has to be some chunkier story here. If that's the singular storyline we're getting, I'm gonna be so pissed. There has to be something better and bigger. It has to be something that wraps around the entirety of the Resident Evil University. I was about to say university, but I mean the Resident Evil universe. Number 9, combat. Combat is especially important in Resident Evil games. Now, Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, Nemesis, 4, Resident Evil 0, Jesus, there's just so many fucking like good Resident Evil games. That combat was so important to Resident Evil because it was survival. You were not babied into the combat. You were given a few items. You're supposed to use them at a particular time. You only had a small amount of ammo, and that's what made the games good, because you actually cared to survive in the game. Now, I don't want to bash Resident Evil 5 and 6, but the truth is, the combat was a little easy. It was easy. And so those games weren't as good, and that's just the truth. Now, the thing that I do like that they're doing with this game is that they're making it a little bit more survival oriented, so there's fewer items and stuff like that. But the one thing that I believe is missing is a combat system. I don't want to run away for the entire game. Please let me shoot something. I just want to fucking shoot something. That's fucked up. But yeah, I want to shoot stuff in this game. I want to shoot zombies and shit. Like, let me have that. Combat is especially important in any Resident Evil game, so this game better have some form of that. It better not just be a cat and mouse. Is that the expression? Yeah, cat and mouse chase the entire game. That would fucking suck. Number 8, gameplay. Now, the one thing that is kind of bothering me is the fact that Resident Evil 7 is a first-person game, and that can be a little bit limiting when it comes to gameplay. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because if you think about it, if you look back, the first few Resident Evils, they had weird camera angles, and that's what made the game hard. It was trying to manage around these strange camera angles and shit. Now, jumping from the original Resident Evil games to Resident Evil 4, and how important the change was from the strange camera angles to third person, and how important that was to games being made at that time was huge. It was huge. Now, I'm not saying that Resident Evil 7 is going to innovate with its first person view, but I'm saying it's probably gonna limit how many things we can do in this game. Now, the other problem with gameplay is, of course, that Capcom is so scared of making this game super action oriented that they went out and said this is gonna be super horror oriented. The problem with that, you can't be too action, you can't be too horror, because too horror is a little bit boring and too action is really boring. And in 2016, I don't think people can really pull that off. I don't think a purely horror game is good. I'm sure there's been a few mediocre titles that I can think of off the top of my head that are just purely horror and are not good because they need some action. They need better gameplay. Number 7, zombies. This is a no-brainer. Okay, I fucking walked into that pun. I literally walked into the zombies no-brainer. Okay, that's stupid. Zombies are quintessential to any Resident Evil game. Now, in the first few Resident Evil games, they were actual, you know, like flesh-eating, fucking fucked up face zombies. Then Resident Evil 4 came along and they were sort of brainwashed zombies. They were like human. They had like sticks and the axes and stuff, and that's cool. But then Resident Evil 5 and 6 came along, and the zombies had like swords or machetes and guns, and Jesus, like that's like people. That's literally people. So this game has to have a good horror influenced zombie. I mean, slow, but at the same time unpredictable. I think the most important word here is unpredictable, because the zombies in Resident Evil 1 were very unpredictable. They were strange, they lumped at you. So yeah, Resident Evil 7 needs zombies in some form. I'm not saying they have to be the slow moving zombies, but they have to be, they can't have guns. Please don't give them guns. Number 6, and this is probably the strangest choice, blood and gore. How do I start this shit off? Because this is a very sensitive topic. Now, one side of people think that violence in video games makes people violent, and then there's the other side that thinks the opposite. I personally think that it depends on the person and how the game affects them. I don't think every single person will become violent from playing violent video games. It's sort of, again, a no-brainer. Violence is an important narrative when it comes to especially these type of games. A narrative that interests the player more in a sort of psychological way, where you see blood and it's like, oh shit, that's blood. Like, I have that shit. That's like, what if that was me? That's fucked up. My nose itches. But yeah, violence makes people take the game more seriously, and that's important. And I just want to see blood. I want to see exploding heads and titties. I want to see like exploding titties. That's what I want to see, dude. Ada Wong, baby. All right, number 5, replayability. I can tell you that the amount of times I've played Outlast and the amount of times I've played Resident Evil 4 are very vastly different. Now, the amount of times I've jerked off with this hand and the amount of time, okay, that's a stupid joke. Considering the fact that this game probably won't have multiplayer, and that's what makes gamers keep the game and play the game for like weeks, months, is multiplayer. And that's such it's a smart concept if you think about it. You have the story element in some games, and then you have a multiplayer section where people just keep coming and coming. But in Resident Evil games, it's mostly story oriented. And Resident Evil 4, for example, has a very long storyline. And that's important when it comes to seeing if the game's gonna be valuable to the player and they wanna play it over and over again. Number 4, this is a very strange one. A case. Now, what the fuck do I mean by a case? Well, if you guys don't remember, Resident Evil games have these little cases, and this is a very small detail and probably shouldn't be on this list, but what I mean by a case is there's these little things that make a Resident Evil game unique, and there's these cases that were like a little game inside the game where you keep everything organized, and like I literally developed OCD because of the cases. Now, what I'm trying to say is sprinkle in those little details that make a Resident Evil game a Resident Evil game. Upgrades, the case, the health packs, you know, just those little things. And so far I have seen a few details from the pre-order bonuses that show these little items, and like when I saw those things, like my heart like was like, oh my god, dude. I remember like the little figures, the little pictures of the health packs of the ammo, like that just, I don't know, it brought a tear to my eye. Number 3, dialogue. Dialogue in Resident Evil is a very subjective thing, if you think about it. Oh, if you're wondering what the fuck I'm doing, I don't know why I'm flipping this thing when I said that. Please be careful with what you do with dialogue in this game, because it can get really cringy. I mean, check this out.
That was close. Thanks, Barry.
Don't mention it. What a monster. I can't believe... What the hell is this place anyway?
Yeah, that happened. I mean, it was the 90s, or maybe it was the O's, I'm not sure. So things weren't that bad, but like, shit, like looking back, Resident Evil 1 is a legendary game. And when you see that, when you see the dialogue, it's just like, why is this shit supposed to be good? But yeah, let's make sure we don't fuck up the dialogue, please. Number 2, puzzles. Now what puzzles did to Resident Evil, they made the game mysterious and they made you actually think. And what it also does is keep a separate line between all the horror and the guts and the glory, guts and glory, and the blood on one side, and then there's this like other side where you have to use your brain, and it's like weird. It's a weird feeling when you actually have to use your fucking brain. No, but yeah, you gotta have puzzles in some form in this game. Number one, bosses. I can't stress this enough. Now, in my past video, I did mention how less might be better when it comes to enemies. But when I started thinking about all these things that should be in the game, I was like, wait a minute. If there has to be better combat, better gameplay, blood and gore, there also has to be, you guessed it, Ramon Salazar. You gotta have Ramon Salazar in that game. Now I'm not saying that Jack Baker, Lucas Baker, and Margaret Baker are not good enough to be bosses. They certainly are that. And they sort of bring a more human, realistic vibe when it comes to bosses. But let's have like those tentacles and shit again. No, I'm just kidding, not tentacles, not hentai. But let's definitely see more bosses where we can utilize the many forms of combat that this game should have, and let's see it happen. I want to see regeneradores. Shit, I don't know how to say that. Regenerators. I want to see the what the fuck was that shit called? The vertigo. Like I said before, bosses will affect combat and gameplay drastically, so we need that. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching my video. Go ahead and like and subscribe to join the Nachos today. Comment down below what you want to see in Resident Evil 7. I mean, personally, I usually like tell you guys what I want to see, but I've already given you like 10 different things I want to see. So I'm gonna shut the fuck up now. Thanks for watching, have a good one, and as always, stay single, baby.